Good morning, distinguished guests. I again request to all the participants to please be seated. We'll be starting with our conclave. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I, Utkarsha Joshi, would like to extend a warm welcome to one and all. The topic for today's MSME Conclave 2.0 is Global Partnerships, Smart Finance, and Dispute Resolution for MSME Growth. With over 6 crore enterprises, MSMEs form the most dynamic pillar of India's growth. It contributes to exports, employment, and inclusive development. Empowering MSMEs is not just an economic imperative, but it is the key to unlocking India's full potential in global trade and innovation. Through this conclave, the Bombay Chamber aims to provide a platform for the MSME entrepreneurs, financial institutions, policymakers, and industry leaders to come together, share knowledge, and discuss strategies for MSME's growth, innovation, global partnerships, smart financing, and dispute resolution. I would like to welcome Mr. Rajan Raje, Chairperson, MSME Forum Bombay Chamber, and CEO, Nichem Solution, to please deliver the welcome address for today's conclave.
Thank you, Utkarsh. Good morning and warm welcome to all of you. It's my privilege and pleasure to address this very august group. At the outset, I would like to brief you about the Bombay Chamber. Bombay Chamber has been playing a proactive role in India's development for the last 189 years. The Chamber serves as an effective vehicle of communication between the regulatory bodies, the corporate world, and the society at large. I have the privilege to mention that of its several thousand members encompassing a wide spectrum of industry houses, 1/3 represent large corporations and the remaining 2/3 represent the SMEs. It's very interesting to note that more than a dozen of large corporates have been our members for more than 100 years. I have the proud privilege to mention that this year's mission is an attempt to marry the rich legacy of the Chamber with the opportunities that can be unleashed in this new global world by working together as an India incorporation. We believe that the more we come together as leaders of India Inc. and work with the government and regulators, higher will be the value we can unlock for all of us. This year's theme, Shaping the Future, Innovation, Inclusion, Impact, has 5 mission elements: catalyzing sustainable economic growth, driving technology and innovation, empowering human capital, deepening public-private partnerships, and modernizing the Chamber for the next generation. Considering the context, Bombay Chamber has undertaken and very actively engaged in activities in aligning with our mission, to name a few. The Chamber's main area of operations includes advocacy in almost all areas, both to the government as well as the judiciary. The Chamber has many subcommittees with eminent members who regularly interpret new notifications and has, apart from the state and annual budget, these committees take feedback from members and make representation to the government. The Chamber has also helped their members in facilitation of business visas and issuing certificate of origin for exports. In fact, Bombay Chamber is one of the leading organizations to issue digital COOs. The Chamber also has a labor advisory wing which plays a crucial role in employer-employee relations and in recent years has started a mediation center. Bombay Chamber conducts over 100 seminars, webinars every year. A lot of these were focused on MSME sector. As Utkarsh mentioned, micro, small and medium enterprises are the backbone of our economy, contributing significantly to the employment. The most important is employment, because the larger organizations probably will go or follow the automation, but the MSME will offer the employment, innovation and economic diversification. However, despite their crucial role, MSMEs often face substantial challenges in assessing adequate and timely finance, which limits their potential for growth and expansion. MSMEs play a pivotal role in India's economy, but continues to face challenges such as limited access to the finance, global market integration, and effective dispute resolution. To address this, the MSME Forum of Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industries is hosting a MSME Conclave 2025 2.0, which is Global Partnerships, Smart Finance and Dispute Resolution for MSME's Growth. The conclave will serve as a platform to catalyze dialogue, forge strategic alliances, and share actionable insights to strengthen MSMEs in an increasingly digital and interconnected economy. Through export-led sessions, the program will explore effects of tariffs on MSME, which is a very hot and sensitive topic, unlocking growth through a mediation, a new era for MSMEs, presentation on empowering MSMEs through global market integration. By bringing together policymakers, financial institutions, international representatives, and industry leaders, the conclave aims to chart a sustainable growth roadmap for MSMEs, enabling them to scale globally and contribute to India's vision of becoming a $5 trillion economy. I thank each of you once again for taking time out from your busy schedule and joining us today, and request you to take the optimal benefit of the sessions by making them interactive. I also would like to mention about Ms. Beena Vaheed, Bank of Baroda, for her presence, and I welcome her as a part of this conclave. Special mention to be done as a this is a special mention I was asked to do because this is very, very important for Bombay Chamber in terms of Bank of Baroda being as a partner. Now, without further delay, I would request Utkarsh to invite the speakers for the theme setting addresses. Thank you very much again, and all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to welcome Mr. Sunil Kumar Sharma, General Manager and Zonal Head, Bank of Baroda, to set the theme for today's event.
Thank you, Utkarsh. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I welcome all of you in this MSME Conclave 2025 2.0 powered by Bank of Baroda. So, like Raje ji said and Utkarsh before him, MSME as a sector, its importance, the kind of focus that the government and all stakeholders have been placing on MSME is not something which is new or needs to be explained in detail. When it comes to overall manufacturing, 45%, export 40%, the largest employment generator, all these things we are aware. On the three accounts that the smart finance part is something which I would take, I would set the theme for, because Bank of Baroda as a banking partner to this conclave, we wanted to showcase what smart financing is, how agile a financing organization could be, and how well we can collaborate and synergize with the MSME sector as a whole for overall growth of both the MSMEs, the economy, and also the bank. In this conclave, you will, Raje ji introduced our Executive Director, Beena Vaheed ma'am. Sheer presence of the Executive Director in this conclave is a testimony that how seriously we place MSMEs in our overall growth journey as a banking organization. You'll have presentations coming from our team wherein you will get a glimpse of the kind of financing that Bank of Baroda has to offer, be it supporting the manufacturing sector, be it supporting the supply chain system, or the uniqueness of export financing that we have as an organization. The automation of export financing to the level that we have taken. And the newer products, if you look, which have been launched very recently by Bank of Baroda, you will get a sense around how agile this organization is when adapting to newer expectations, newer demands emanating from the sector. Wherever the sector needs financing support, Bank of Baroda is one organization which adapts and brings forth the kind of product that is best suited for such requirements. As an organization, we have got a setup of specialized branches which are catering to MSME as a segment. We have got, and we have married those specialized branches with Forex Cat B branches, and they are spread across the length and breadth of Mumbai. You'll get to know all these detail when the team from Bank of Baroda makes those presentations. So I would once again welcome all of you, and I'll hope and expect that by the end of this conclave, at least the financing part is something which you will feel comfortable about, and Bank of Baroda people would have addressed most of the questions that you might be having. The whole team of Bank of Baroda is there within the hall, outside the hall. If there is anything which you feel to have a one-on-one discussion kind of, you are most welcome. With this, I once again welcome you and thank you for being in this conclave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward, our first session for today is Fireside Chat on unlocking MSME growth through strategic banking partnerships. For that, I would like to invite Ms. Beena Vaheed, Executive Director, Bank of Baroda, and our moderator, Mr. Vishwanath Iyer, Bureau Chief and Banking Editor, NDTV Profit, to kindly join us on the dais.
All right, I just want to clarify. My name is Vishwanath Nair. I think the announcement was for a different state, but let me. All right, so thank you so much for joining us on this stage. This conversation around MSMEs is quite important just when you think about the fact that India is moving towards a developed nation status, and the expectation is 2047, still a while away. Having said that, there is a lot of hope and a lot of expectation that the MSME sector, because of the number of people it employs, because of the size of the sector in terms of number of companies out there, they're going to be a major contributor to the developed nation status. And I just wanted to start this conversation off, let the ball rolling with this conversation about the developed nation status and the role of MSMEs in your view?
See, if you look at the MSMEs, like Raje also just mentioned, they play a pivotal role in India's development. When you're talking about 2047, 2047 is something which is not possible without the banks and the MSMEs. These are two major groups which will play a role. And if you see the MSME figures, like I think the previous speakers also spoke, 30% of the GDP, 45% of exports, and a large employer, 6.2 lakh registered MSME units, 25 crore people employed. So they play a major role in the country's economy. And going forward also, the vision for Viksit Bharat 2047, I think this is the group which is actually going to deliver the 2047 agenda for the nation.
Coming to the bank's role, you touched upon it a little earlier. Without banks and without MSMEs, this is not possible. When you're talking about the banking system, apart from the fact that, okay, you give a loan and you give depositors an opportunity to put their money at a certain rate of interest, what is the other big role that the banks are playing at this stage?
See, at this stage, with the challenges which have come in the last few months, the geopolitical challenges which are there, the banks have, more than being a fund provider, have also got into an advisory role where banks are actually hand-holding the MSMEs, these units which are facing challenges, and also are trying to find out solutions rather than, trying to look at the problems. They have more or less become a solution provider for every problem that the MSMEs are facing, be it across industries or across states. So we are just trying to reach out to the MSMEs, trying to understand what the problems are, because it's too early for us to actually gauge the problems that they're facing. We're kind of getting into an advisory role to understand their problems and also help them out with solutions. We have more or less, if you actually look at BOB also, and I'm sure the other banks as well, what the industry as a whole has been doing is trying to find solutions rather than looking into what the problems are. So we have become more or less a solution provider rather than trying to analyze the problems.
I'm just, just for the sake of our audience here, I was just looking at the numbers that the RBI puts out in terms of the outstanding dues that are there from the banking sector to various other sectors. And MSMEs, I think 8,83,000 crore is for the micro and small, while the medium enterprises is about 3,63,000 crore. Cumulatively, when we're thinking about this, close to 12 lakh crore worth of bank loans are towards the MSME sector, specifically within the industrial MSME sector, not counting the services industry. I wanted to get a sense from you. This is a constant complaint or request that comes from the MSME sector that banks are not very forthcoming when it comes to extending money. Extremely risk averse, the underwriting standards are too stringent for them to access the loan capital. To your mind, what is blocking institutional credit, or do you think that maybe this is a conversation of the past and today that institutional credit is actually free flowing?
No, I think, this is definitely something of the past. Institutional credit is free-flowing today. If you see all the banks, this has become a priority. If you see Bank of Baroda alone, if you see the figures, there are banks which have clocked, figures of 18% YOY growth. I'm talking about some of the bigger banks with larger bases. If you see Bank of Baroda alone, for 2025, the growth was for the last 3 years, we have clocked 15% growth. So that itself is a sizable number if you see, and this has been one of the best performing out of the RAM sector. 60% of the bank's total advances is to the RAM sector. And this has been one of our best performing sectors if you see in terms of, there are challenges. I'm not saying there are, it is, if all the papers are there, everything is there, the credit is free-flowing, but there are challenges in terms of, many a time, there is an information asymmetry, papers are not there, income statements are not there. So these are primarily the reasons why, MSMEs could be facing a problem. Otherwise, there is no hindrance in any of the banks for that matter, for Bank of Baroda and not any of the other banks also where, MSMEs face challenges. If all the papers are in place. And now with the kind of digital loans that are there, digital has actually revolutionized the MSME lending completely, because the customers or the applicants do not have to walk into bank branches. They can digitally apply, and there are banks which are, we also have loans where we are giving up to 2 crores. There are banks which go up to 5 crores in digital lending, where you do not have to walk into the branches, and this is all, entire thing works through a digital network. So the real question of MSMEs facing problems, if they kind of have the data or the kind of subsets that are actually required, is not there. This is definitely a thing of the past. If you have your papers, if you have your projects which are there, the digital lending itself has gone a long way. If you see, I think banks have also now moved into cash flow based lending. If you see some of the biggest lenders, they have figures as high as 76,000 crores, if you see the latest figures which are there. Of course, banks like us were, I'm not saying late entrants, but we entered lately, but there are banks which got into this space much before even the finance minister made this statement on cash flow-based lending. And some of the biggest banks are really into this, and they have figures. If you see, yesterday I was in a meeting where I think the largest lender has figures as good as 76,000 crores, which is a phenomenal number in terms of lending.
Coming to the supply chain financing, because that was something that was quite a push area as far as Bank of Baroda is concerned. I wanted to get your sense about, do you think that this supply chain financing for Bank of Baroda has been a very successful approach? Because, of course, it benefits all the MSMEs which are there in the supply chain ecosystem. I also wanted to get a sense about, what do you think that the next stage of supply chain financing is something that banks are working toward?
Yeah, see, if you see for us, this actually, if you see the supply chain finance, it has been a strategic growth engine for Bank of Baroda. We were one of the earliest entrants into this, and we were one of the first domestic lenders to actually identify the potential of this area, and we have built a differentiated and scalable supply chain finance franchise. The first and foremost thing which helped us in this was a large institutional book which was there, which gave us a natural edge to play in this space. So with deep relationships across public sector undertakings, with corporates, and also with the other lenders, we were positioned actually to, lead in this case of, in the case of the structured finance across their entire value chains, be it vendors, dealers, or MSME partners. And we have leveraged this strength, and this allows us to offer, supply chain finance not just as a product, but more as a platform for ecosystem banking. We have made early and sustained investments into the digital infrastructure. Our SCF platform is in fact one of the best. And this also reduces friction, if you see, and also lowers the transaction cost, which is actually a major issue. It also enhances the risk visibility that the bank has in this area. And it is fully aligned with the Digital India and Make in India schemes. The other thing is, it's also, SCF also forms a key driver of our RAM portfolio, which is 60%, as I just mentioned, in the entire advances of the bank. And we have come up with a large number of schemes, and we have also entered into various kind of industries like automobile, pharma, which supports this kind of ecosystem for us.
I wanted to get a sense about, you mentioned digital initiatives a few times during this conversation. I'm trying to understand, when you talk about digital initiatives, there was a huge push from public sector banks to deploy loans in 60 minutes, right? That was something that was a push area. What more can we look forward to?
See, all the banks, see, you're talking about PSB 59, which was one of the first digital initiatives that the bank took. All the banks took. It was a government initiative where the loans used to get disbursed in 59 minutes. After that, now you can talk about big loans. See, those were small loans, small ticket loans. Now there are banks which are providing loans as high as 5 crores, and these loans get disbursed in the sense, they get processed within 15 to 20 minutes. Because the entire ecosystem, whether it's the GST, whether it's your tax filings, everything is in place. It is all integrated through account aggregators. And then we are able to disburse these kind of loans very quickly. So we have actually moved far ahead from the PSB 59 era into the new era where, these kind of digital loans, there are various kind of products which are available, there are various kind of loans which are available, and MSMEs actually, an MSME need not walk into the branch today, where at earlier days we used to face 45 days to 60 days for getting a loan processed. So the platforms are there. In fact, for Bank of Baroda alone, I'm sure the team will take you through this. We have a Tejas platform, which is a state-of-the-art platform where the loans get disbursed within 24 hours. Everything happens. It actually takes care of the whole ecosystem, and the customers will not face any kind of problem. I'm sure the team will be having a presentation on the Stages platform and how it could be leveraged for your loans.
Just talking about the technology initiatives, TREADS is also something that the government has pushed very hard. And it's something that's actually taken off quite well as far as the banking sector as well as bill discounting in the MSMEs are concerned. Can you tell us a little bit about what, to your mind, is the main push area?
See, if you see the TREADS, I, in fact, was in one of the finance ministry meetings yesterday. So I just have a few figures. If you just actually see the TREADS, it enforces buyers onboarding for greater than 250 crore turnover, and it is anchor-led dynamic discounting, which helps the banks to, publish anchor-wise discount curves. And the CPSEs are also set to define payment SLAs, and then I have a few figures as well for you, which I'll just take you through a few figures, where the government itself, if you see the TREADS, 1.89 crore invoices have been discounted as on date, and 6.45 lakh crore is the amount which has been discounted. That's huge. It really helps the MSMEs, because in spite of the MSME Act being there, which mandates that payments have to be made in 45 days, it doesn't happen. And TREADS is one platform which the MSMEs can actually largely use to get their payments. Because if you see the Samadhan portal itself, it has almost 1 lakh cases amounting to 28,000 crore which are pending for the receivable payments are pending of the MSMEs. So the TREADS is one platform which all of you must actually use, because it helps in discounting. These figures which I gave you are the latest figures which I got after attending the meeting yesterday. This is an overall figure of which the finance ministry has put out.
We've got 2 more minutes, so let me just quickly ask you one simple question to close us off, which is, what can banks like Bank of Baroda and the other public sector banks and private banks in the ecosystem do better to ensure that MSMEs get what they need?
See, the banks have come a long way in helping MSMEs, in the sense it's not only the MSMEs, all our banking partners. If you say we are partnering the MSMEs in helping them to identify areas where they should be going. It's become more of an advisory service rather than, one MSME walking. Gone are those days when borrowers used to just walk into the banks, and banks used to just look into the immediate needs of the borrower, whether it's MSMEs or corporates. Today, banks are partnering the MSMEs, because our growth, the bank's growth, is entirely dependent on the customer's growth. So it's a journey together that we walk through, both the MSMEs and the banks. It's not only the MSMEs, the corporates as well, the mid-corporates. So we are actually kind of looking at transforming the MSMEs into mid-corporates and these mid-corporates into large corporates. So today, that is what we are kind of looking at by being a partner in their growth, by taking these people forward, by taking these small industries forward from micro, small and medium into mid-corporates and to large corporates, for which every advice is available. We have those kind of systems, those kind of setups. We have moved from those basic banking setups where, it is a one-off kind of advice into advising these MSMEs or the customers to move on. And with that, the bank also moves on. And with that, the country also progresses. So it's basically something between the bank, the customer, and the country's progress. So that is where we are today.
All right, Ms. Vaheed, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation, ma'am. That's our time for the day. Thank you so much for listening.
Any questions to be asked?
Yeah, if somebody has a question, then we can pass on the mic.
Yeah, we can have 2 to 3 questions.
Hello. Madam, you mentioned about the digital loans and the way they are quickly disbursed today. See, the digital loans are based on obviously the cash flow history, the GST history, and the CIBIL score. We have faced a problem with CIBIL because, see, you don't have access. As a customer, I don't have an access to CIBIL. The CIBIL says I don't have any freedom to devise your score unless the banks or whosoever you are dealing with, they provide the data on time. We only collect the data and decide your CIBIL score. So is there a possibility that today CIBIL is the only one probably the banks follow? And with these difficulties like us, because I'll tell you our own example. I mean, the bank, I don't want to mention the name, but we have borrowed the working capital and we wanted to reduce the working capital, so we infused the funds. For their own reasons, they didn't want the reduction in the credit CC limit to appear before 31st of March. So they kept on lingering our renewal and lingering our actual financials to be displayed and conveyed to CIBIL, and we suffered. The CIBIL score came down. We didn't have the freedom to utilize those or return those funds for 3-4 months. So apart from CIBIL, is there a possibility that you will access other rating agencies?
Sir, as of now, CIBIL is what we are kind of following, but let me also assure you and tell you there's a good news. Yesterday, in fact, we were having a MSME meet, which was IBA, hosted by IBA, and it was hosted in our premises where the DFS secretary himself was there. And we had MSME organizations from across the country who had participated in yesterday's meet. And CIBIL and CMR ranking, which actually fluctuates, the problem more is with the CMR ranking. It was discussed by 2 or 3 associations, and the ministry themselves are into it. The joint secretary was also there. So he was saying that we would look at this and try to find a solution. So since it has been taken up at the highest levels, so I'm sure the solutions and the mitigations would come around quickly.
Thank you.
All right, we can take one more question then.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's heartening to, my name is Madhuri Lele. I have 17 years hands-on experience in industry, way back from 1976. It's heartening to now listen that the bankers are saying that our progress is dependent upon MSME, and it's really good to know. There will be a lot of people over here would patiently listen to what you are saying, but their experience could be different. But of course, there is quite a positive approach. I want to share 2 things, and this is for your consideration. I have already tried to connect with 5 to 6 banks, including your bank, but I haven't received any positive response so far, but yet I will get it someday. 2 areas where bankers need to consider inclusion of funding. One is leadership development, because if the person whom you are funding needs some additional inputs in their leadership quality, probably we are missing on it. Probably, I'm not saying it. Second area is for getting them certifications of international standardizations. Every day there is a 3rd, 4th, 5th standard coming in, which are being expected by EUs or Western countries. I remember the day when our economy or government was looking at it as non-tariff barriers. Today, even if we feel so, we can't do without it. So these are the 2 areas. If the bankers can look and take care, probably all our efforts would be far more positive. And thank you very much for If you're going to be here, I would like to meet you later on.
Ma'am, I have a board meeting, so I just had to find time to come in, but I'm available. I
Well,
sit in BKC. I'll be happy to meet you. Probably with Sunil, I can meet. No issues at his office at any point of time.
Fine, at least I feel the lady will look at for women entrepreneurs mainly.
No, it is. I understand it's well taken. I just get.
And unfortunately, the banks don't support. And we have to use the CC money for these kind of things. So again, there is always a problem for the working capital.
So we'll have a look
the
at this.
bank must look
We
at
will,
it.
sir. We will.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll close this session for now, and we'll pass on to Utkarsh.
Thank you so much for that insightful discussion. I would like to request Sandeep Khosla.
One sec. Just since Raje sir raised this, see, maybe possible we don't have a product in the name of certification financing. Or for that matter, any particular name. See, what bankers do, you give me a financial implication, a financial positive implication, you build me a bankable case and I fund it. That's as simple as that. So be it certification, be it anything.
I think, Sunil, we can look at some product. It's a genuine requirement because the entire industry has it. So we could look at a product, sir. We'll definitely look at it.
That's the, maybe.
Something like 70-80 lakhs. And it becomes really challenging.
So, like I said, agility is one virtue that we have. It's a case, we'll come up with a product.
Thank you, sir. I would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Khosla, Director General, Bombay Chamber. Ma'am, just a moment, just a small. To kindly present mementos to our moderator and speaker, ma'am, as a token of appreciation. Ms. Beena Vaheed, Executive Director, Bank of Baroda. A round of applause. And our moderator, Mr. Vishwanath Nair, Bureau Chief and Banking Editor, NDTV Profit.